Have you ever played a game in which you are unable to see what is going on? Because all the guns are blazing, projectiles flying, debris falling, enemies flying, and you are just sitting here holding the spacebar and trying to wreck everything faster than it wrecks you. All that only for that extra cash, so you can get the next update ASAP. If the answer is yes, then you probably already experienced the true Jets and Guns experience. I'm Tesak, and today we are going to go through the evolution of Jets and Guns. I still remember when I played Jets and Guns for the first time in my life. I was attending first grade of elementary school and I visited my dad in his job. I got bored real quick though, as it was typical office environment. So he set me in front of his computer and started the game. That game was tech demo of Jets and Guns, and I had a blast. Because I never ever experienced anything like this. The game felt innovative, great and challenging. The graphics looked better than anything else I saw so far, and I immediately fell in love with it. If you look at the same game from today's point of view, you'll certainly disagree with how I just described the game. First of all, it only runs in 640 by 480, which is quite obsolete resolution to be honest. Second of all, I am even unable to make the game run properly on a modern system. As you can see on the footage, it was a challenge on its own to even start the game. I had to play with compatibility settings and configs for a while before I had at least partial success. And that's with all the pink rectangles and the game locked in a small window in the middle of my screen. As full screen caused the game to run on 1 frame per second. But this is where it all started. The gameplay is set, there is constantly something happening on the screen, and the continuous shooting overheats the ship. Ramcon is used for hacking, bombs have to be loaded in order to be dropped, and the music is made by machine supremacy. Okay, so I just presented to you the first version of Jets and Guns I know about. And as much as I am nostalgic about it, I have to admit that by today's standards the game is really bad. But that's okay, because it was just a tech demo. What came next was the full release. Near the end of 2004, full version of Jets and Guns was released. And with that, another demo. I wasn't able to find the full version, as Wrecking Grass later on upgraded it to the Gold Edition, and we will get to that in a minute. But I was able to find yet another, newer demo version. Well, I will just briefly show you around. In this demo you are granted the iconic TMiG 226, one of the most powerful and versatile ships from the full game. But about half of the upgrades are locked, plus there is access to only a limited shop with only some guns. The game also presents you with some contacts that will grant you info about upcoming levels and give you a brief explanation what they are up to in the full version. Besides that, the game still runs in 640 by 480 resolution, which I believe was the case for the full game as well. Anyway, next in line is Jets and Guns Gold Edition. Released towards the end of 2006, this is basically the same game as before, but with few more levels and finally improved resolution of 800 by 600. In early 2014, Jets and Guns Gold was added to Steam, and that's the version we are looking at right now. This version also added the ability to change the resolution with the help of in-game console. Jets and Guns Gold was the game that I played most, and that I think was for a long time the best side-scrolling shooter with progression out there. Feel free to disagree and share your thoughts on that though. Anyway, it was the original Jets and Guns and Jets and Guns Gold that had a really good mixture of various ships, weapons, upgrades, equipment, levels and enemies for experimentation. There was always a way to improve your ship, equipment or playstyle, and you could always do a little bit better. Also, especially Jets and Guns Gold had huge replayability, mainly thanks to the superior number of levels. With that said, I probably should mention that Jets and Guns isn't a game that you are going to finish, ever. The game has story, and you can finish that. But the game itself is endless, so you can play until you get bored or until you manage to complete all your personal goals. The game itself is based on playthroughs, and each playthrough gets a little bit harder, but also unlocks some new, more devastating weapons. I'll be honest here, I have no idea if the difficulty is increased indefinitely, or if it's somehow kept. Back in the days when I played the game the most, I managed to play for at least 10, but likely more playthroughs on one save without cheating, and the game never really felt unbeatable. But by that time, I really had nearly everything that I wanted, and what I really considered the perfect loadout. But let's get back to the game itself. Jets and Guns is no definitive game we know today, and is the exact experience I described at the beginning. You start as a small bounty hunter with ships that have to dodge everything, and you can't really destroy more than a handful of enemies. And you are gradually working your way up, upgrading your weapons, equipment, and eventually switching your starter ship for a better one. For that, you need two things. First of all, you have to unlock everything, and then you have to make some serious cash to be able to afford everything. Good thing is that you can always sell everything for the same value, so you can experiment with different loadouts without the fear of losing anything. And that's what I think is what really sets Jason Guns apart from similar games. Also, now you can access the Etherix. This little device will allow you to play two minigames. One is a remake of the classic logical game, which is around the world probably known as Mastermind, and upon successfully beating the game, it will allow player to unlock some locked cargoes for some extra loot or tips. Second minigame that have no use beside getting an achievement is Tetris. And I really think that the name itself is self-explanatory. Yeah, I'm not gonna mention anything beside this. The gameplay itself is still the same as was in the original tech demo. Besides improved controls, graphic and UI, nothing really changed in this department. The Remcom have new additions though. It now can overheat certain enemies and open boxes. It can be handy in few scenarios, but I personally always end up using it just to open boxes to gain some extra HP or cash. What did change though is the menu. I can't say for certain if I never played the original Jets and Guns, but at least in the Gold Edition, contacts have been scrapped, and the story is instead told through pretty well drawn comics that you are presented on loading screens, and I have to say I really like this style of storytelling, even though the story is very silly. Good addition is that the shop and whole menu is now split into folders, each holding its respective content, which makes it clean and easier to navigate through. Another really welcome change is in comparison to the tech demo is that when HP of your ship gets low, it no longer keeps squeaking until you explode or repair your ship. Now there is just quick red flash followed by few warning beeps and the dial on your health bar starts blinking. And as we are talking about UI elements, I really prefer the old ones from the demo. The new ones are cool and all, but they somehow don't fit the whole scene for me. The game as a whole have not much to change and improve, to be honest. Your ship that shoots everything that moves, occasionally picking up some collectibles, and from time to time catching galactic villains or fighting big bosses. So not much to improve, right? Well, not really. Now let's talk about the newest edition, Jets and Guns 2. Originally released on Steam as an early access in early late 2018 and fully released during the summer of 2020, it is really what you would expect. The same good old action where you can't see anything and you really need that extra cash to grab in order to improve your ship. But now, with new additions and quite few changes. For me, the biggest change is local multiplayer. I intentionally ignored this topic the whole time. Local multiplayer is something that was featured in the original technology demo, which I believe was released to the public back in 2002. But we never got it in the final product, and the gold expansion didn't brought it back. and thus the whole Jetson Guns was single player experience the whole time, which for me is a huge deal because I really like the sensation of playing the game with my friends, and that's where Jetson Guns 2 hooked me up. Like, local multiplayer? Yes, please. Okay, it's still just a local multiplayer, but unlike FPS games or racing games, where, for me, local multiplayer is almost guaranteed to be total trash, for 2D side-scroller, it's pretty good solution. Anyway, the game brought back nearly everything we loved about the predecessor. We got the collectibles, which I didn't mention previously, we got some new levels to play, we got replayability, we got a bunch of weapons, upgrades, new portraits, which I also didn't mention previously. I found the old one hilarious, and somehow unironically, excuse me, unironically, I like the new ones. And of course we got new story, but unfortunately we lost few things. First of all, the story told through comics is now gone. Instead we are presented the story through text in the mission descriptions. We also lost the ability to buy new ships, which I don't really mind, because we got ship modifications instead. Now we are stuck with just one ship, but we can modify our upgrades the way we like, plus we are given the option to visually change the look of our ships, which I honestly like even more than the ability to have choose from several ships. Look, my choice always was the iconic Make 226, even though the Coffinator, Airworm or Make 310 were statistically better in the previous late game. And I know, yes, you really can't expand the weapon slots now, and that's probably the only thing I wish could be changed. Anyway, besides that, we now also gain two new options. Now your ship can be equipped with up to two new items, the Ultras, which are devices that can drastically change the gameplay, and each weapon slot can be now equipped with gems, or gems, which are utilities that can enhance the weapons. Besides that, the visuals are really good, and thanks to that, the previous game really started feeling stiff. On the other hand, in the Jetson Guns 2, some enemies are maybe too light because they literally can be moved with your bullets, and I somehow don't like that. Also, now you don't have to literally crash into collectibles, as if you get close enough they will start following you and eventually catch up, so no more lost gold or HP boosts. Also, ramming is now a viable gameplay tactic, but I won't say much, as it would spoil the fun for potential players. And the last thing I noticed is that you no longer have to save the game into save file slots, but instead you are required to create player profile that is then saved automatically, which I absolutely approve as a better way to save progress. But with all that, there is really something that the Jetson Guns 2 is lacking in comparison to Jetson Guns and Jetson Guns Gold, excuse me. And I guess that if you already played the game, you already know the answer. Yes, it's the story. The amount of missions is really small, especially in comparison to the Jetson Guns Gold, and thus it makes the game more repetitive. As far as I know, Jetson Guns 2 don't have that annoying kind of mission that were fun to play once, but everyone hated to play them from that point forward. Yes, I'm talking about the scuba diving mission, jetpack mission, racing mission, and cargo carrier mission. And to be honest, at this point I really hope I am not making fool of myself because I played Jetson Guns 2 for the first time since the full release today. I dumped only about 40 hours to the game per the release, getting myself to the 7th, 6th and 4th playthrough on 3 different player profiles, which talks for itself. I hope that I'll be able to play some more with my girlfriend or maybe some friends and see the whole story for myself, but that requires the time that I currently don't have. Also, Asterix is back now with Mortal Tetrix, so I really look forward to play that as well. Well, the original game was also shorter, so maybe we'll be given expansion in the form of Jetson Guns 2 Gold or something like that, but right now I'm quite skeptical about that. And With that, I think I covered everything regarding the evolution of jets and guns. If you have some good memories regarding this game, or you think that I forgot something, then let me know in the comments. Oh yeah, and I try to leave out all the story points and the other spoilers out for anyone who would be interested in experiencing any Jets and Guns game for themselves. So maybe if you're going to comment, it would be nice to keep that in mind as well. Anyway, thanks you for watching and I will see you next time. See ya.